Well, today I went for the small book launch. Great to see some people there. Great to see everyone who I know and who first time here. Part of the life. It was nice to give a few words on the books, so the experience of Singapore, Singapore standards. So 2 years ago we had this event in Malaysia. That's by Sister Shahira, this book actually consists of the transcript script of the lecture, the scholars who attended Singapore. This is their lecture that I would say the transcript already we talked about the event itself. And it's quite a tedious project actually, but my wife, our preserver, she was the one who ensured that everything is in sequence. You know, it looks easy to publish a book, but behind the scene of publishing the book, you do not see the whole thing. We also have Sister now who help us. The web page, you see this, she's the one who edited for us. We have Sister Satyani here, who also doing the transcribing from Singapore, and we have Sister Lakiza, who always been doing the design for the event since 2014. So inshallah, all of them came there. Allah bless them for all the effort that they put. So, more or less, I would like to start first on the event itself. So the program started in 2010. At that point of time, the event was actually my wife's brainchild because she was the one who had the idea. And the whole idea was actually for the community in Singapore especially to understand what is Islamic spirituality and how does Islamic spirituality, or known as Tasawwuf, help the community in going through adversity. So our first 2010, the theme was known as this one. As I mentioned just now, we started Shaker Kuala in 2010. It was my wife's idea actually to start the event or to organize the conference. We started as a conference actually. And then the community in Singapore is able to learn something from the so the theme was populations. Yes, 91 types of populations. And I think we invited some scholars. We invited one scholar from Malaysia, who did a video and we also had Shemani Sisi the first time we host African scholar. And in that particular event on the first year, subhanAllah, we didn't expect anything much, except the fact that we met a lot of Malaysians actually attending the event, and also some people who didn't anticipate to attend the event. For example, I met someone who's working in a convent school in Singapore. I met someone who was released from prison, and a lot of people that we didn't expect to attend, and they came and they were looking for something in life, just like all of us. And one memorable experience that I had on the first year was someone who had left Islam. He attended the event, and he was looking for, of course, everybody is the same goal as I was saying, that everyone is looking for something in their life. And he felt that he lost the religion because he didn't know what was in it for his religion. Meaning like, I pray and I do all this, but why is it that my life is in disarray? Why is it that my life was in jeopardy? But after he attended the event, he felt that how tasawwuf, the Temple Sufism, helped him in his journey in rediscovering his identity of who he is and relating to where he is heading in his life. The direction is, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we continue. When we first intend to organize this event, we did not foresee that it will continue until the 10th year. And of course, this is the barakah of the scholars, the volunteers, and also the participants. So when it started to 2011, 2012, 2013, I think we meet more and more people who are broken in their life. And when I say broken, when I say broken, it's not someone who just lost someone they loved or someone who they couldn't get married to. But I think it sort of, for me and my wife, it's sort of discovery on the reality of our society. That means there are people who have been abused, there are people who are undergoing a lot of situations where we don't see that they are going through. And this makes us understand our community, and this makes us realize that we need to learn, or we need to understand that how actually Sufism makes us aware of our inner self. Because there's a saying that if you want to know someone, what they are going through, you need to know yourself, the experience. Of course, it's not that you have been to be someone who is abused and then you will be able to understand someone else's abuse. No, it's the mental capacity, the mental state of what you go through. And I see a lot of people who are broken in certain ways, right? And in different ways. It's not everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own pain, their own grief, right? I mean, one sister who shared with me about how she left Islam after she was being abused by her husband. And how is it that, why is it that she left Islam was primarily is because there was no support for her. And wherever she turned to, she was always facing, I would say, a barrier or something that not making her understand that she is going through certain situations. You know, sometimes when people come to you, when people share with you the adversity that they go through, we tend to generalize. You know, we tend to generalize because our assumption is based on our limited experience that we know what's going on with this person. So I think through that experience, I learned to suspend my judgment until I had that conversation with some people. You know, I met a guy who has whole tattoo, came for sacred love, and he said that, subhanallah, I discovered the way to Allah by knowing myself, by knowing my resentment, by knowing my past, and to reconcile myself with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through my anger, is through my resentment, is through my pain, right? So most of the time, we tend to say to someone who ever go through that severe trials is that, oh, it's nothing. Tomorrow everything will be fine. But if you say to someone who is abused, who has been abused, who went through hardship in a sense that they lost their loved one, or they lost the trust with their loved one, like the father sexually abused the daughter, sort of thing. And it's happening rapidly in our community. Even I was told in Malaysia also it's a norm. It's happening, but everyone is sweeping under the carpet. So how do we deal with all this? And I realized after a few years of sacred problem, it's interesting to see that how Sufism actually works on everyone. But the problem for us is that we have certain ways of saying how Tasawwuf or Sufism works in a traditional context. But if you read Imam Ghazali and even Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, you will realize how Tasawwuf work on the soul, and it's not just an outward appearance. When I say outward appearance, like you go to a majlis and then you wear whatever that the uniform, whatever that is needed for you to be wearing, and then that's it. But I think it goes deeper as we go along in Singapore of Love, and I look back as like, subhanAllah, I didn't realize how people are broken in their own ways. That means that even if someone, anyone can be broken, whatever experience that they face. But it doesn't need to be a huge amount of trauma. It can also be certain resentment, pain, grief. Because I met people who left Islam, really left Islam because they are really, I would say, resentment with their past, and they couldn't find a way out. So it's always easy for us to say, if you are angry, take wudu. If you are angry, do zikir. But these are the things that trigger people to the extent that it affects their mental capacity or mental stability. So all these are, I think, really important for us to learn today, that how Tasawwuf deals with the essence of our soul, the core of our being. And it's not just, you read Qasidah, you read Salawat. Of course it's important, because it changes the conditions of your state. But how you perceive things coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very important. Because a lot of times, when we salat, when we zikir, when we do any form of ibadah, we expect our life to be clear from any tribulations. But what we learn in Singapore of Love from different scholars like Sheikh Mahini and Sheikh Abdul Aziz Fredericks and so on is, how do we witness Allah in that tribulations? How do we find healing in that trauma? How do we find relief in that pain? And all these people that me and my wife we met for the past 10 years are actually people who teach us about life. Because we are not perfect. We are meant to be broken. We are fragile. And that's why we need Allah. And that's why we need to realize that the reality of shukr is to be able to understand that every moment in our life leads us to Allah. Right? So we have one sister that I met who was unwed pregnancy. That was 2011, I still remember. And she attended the event, and I still remember she was crying after the whole event. And then she asked one of the scholars, if I'm not wrong, was she and professors actually right at that time. And the scholars was giving her a very interesting analogy or very interesting ways of to go about in her life. And one of the scholars was saying to her, like, to move on in life is not to hold on to the past, which we always hear. But what the scholar gives in detail is that if you think that this place sort of trigger you in many ways, therefore try to find somewhere else. Try to migrate and change a new life. And which she did. She migrated, I wouldn't say migrated, but she moved away, and now she's in Australia and now become Australian PR, and she's moved on with her life. So that's one of the things that help people to psychologically understand themselves or how they can move in their life to Allah. But sometimes you just say, you just salat, everything will be fine. Just now we had discussion with Sister Man from my team about all this domestic violence where people say like, you just pray, everything will be fine. And that's the problem for today in social media age, that we hope for miracles when we do ibadah. And that's how Singapore of Love make us understand that every ibadah that we do is to show us that we are a slave to Allah. But whatever the outcome that Allah has given to us is that He is giving us Himself through any means. Right? But we want something for ourselves. We want something better than what we had. So it's not that easy to just say like, okay, we have to move on. That means we move forward, and they said yesterday was yesterday. But I think for some people, the trauma or the pain or the grief still live in them and still be with them because it has become part of them. And I met one sister who was sexually abused by his father, and she ended up as a hostess. So one of the time when I sit with her like this, in a coffee shop, not coffee shop, cafe, and then I asked her to do some therapy, write down what is it that you're looking for in your life, what is the intention that you have now. And she's one of the participants at Secret About Love. And it takes time, years, not years, months, and maybe years, yes. So at one time she said that I detest my life. I no longer want to see myself as who I am right now. I hate myself. Because when people go through sexual abuse, it's not something that is easy to accept. Because the trauma is always there. As I mentioned, it lives within you and it's part of you. So how do we disengage that? And that's why the therapy moves slowly and slowly and slowly to the point that she said, I don't even like what I'm doing. I don't like to do drugs. I don't like to take alcohol anymore. I'm tired of it. So that's where I try my best to help her, and not say counseling, but more of a friend who push, slowly. And subhanAllah, one day in Ramadan, 2 years ago, she messaged me. My wife and I just had sahur, and then we were about to praise Fajr, and she texted me. She said, "Salam bro, how are you? How's Ramadan?" I said, "Okay, alhamdulillah." And then she said, "Guess where I am now?" I said, "Where are you now?" I don't know how to respond to that. And she said, "I'm at Masjid Ba'alwi doing Fajr." This is my first time in a mosque after 27 years of my life. She said, and she said, "Thank you. Thank you for making me walk on the sacred path." And so this is one of the examples that I can share with you, but there are many more. And I met someone who came out from prison. His whole body is also tattooed, and he couldn't find hope, he couldn't find life because there was no one there for him. So when he attended Singapore Love, he began to understand that his journey is from Allah to Allah. And when I mentioned from Allah to Allah, that because one of the scholars, he says that you came into this world, although it's through your mother, but it's Allah who bring you into this world. Your mother is a means for you to come into this world, because Allah has His ways in making people understand how that we need wasila. You need something for your creation. Right? And that's where we sit down after the event, we talk, and we discuss about his life and what he needs to do. And I always say, your intention is for Allah. That's where the direction to Allah begins. And that's how he also shared with me, it's like, Allah, that attending the Singapore of Love is something that he never thought of will be able to blow him away. And all these stories that I share with you is not like a beautiful story. It's a story where people are still struggling. But the reality like I want to share is also how Sufism is actually helping people in a way to move to Allah in a way that you don't hold on to yourself. Like we have many divorce cases, mainly from domestic violence, house abuse, and especially the sisters, they are the victims, and many of them. They went for counseling, they went for this. So when they start to attend our event, they begin to realize that they need to know what is the reality that they look for in life. Because most of the time, we only concern what is there for me. But Allah is always there for you. You see how when things happen, it shifts our focus in life. It shifts everything. Right? And then some people say that, I prayed so many times, it doesn't work. And I said, it's not the prayer that doesn't work, it is you who need to understand who is Allah and who is you. Right? So, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of stories that I can share. And I felt that some of it our volunteers wrote in this book as a form of reflection. And also from this conference or this Sacred Path of Love, we realize how Sufism works on community, family, marriage. Because one of the topics that Syekh Tosun in the first year, Syekh Tosun is just passed away a year ago, Allah bless him. He's one of the scholars who supported us to start the Sacred Path of Love. And it was very interesting because when we started that conference, he was touching on the issue of family. And the topic he talked about was Allah does not send a trial without sending a solution. How to deal with family, marriage and financial crisis. And then it was at the right time and in the right age right now that most of us are facing such crisis. Even in religious circles. That's why I say when in Singapore Love we met so many people and you'll be surprised that even among the people in so-called religious circle or Sufi circle you call it, are also facing the same situation like those who are broken or those who are being abused. Right? So that's how we understand that people are broken in certain ways, but their healing is Allah. But how to say that the healing is Allah is not just to seek something that is miracle. Because sometimes we move on because we found someone else, or we found new friends, or we found Aman, inshallah, Allah bless him. Right? But the reality is we are not engaging truthfully about our current state. That means you are not going through that process of knowing the self. You are trying to pretend that nothing happened. And most of the time we are like that. And most of the time we are trying to ignore whatever issues that we are facing in our daily life and hoping that it will eventually move away or it will end by itself. But it doesn't. Right? So one of the quotes that I like to share from Sheikh Abdulaziz, which is very profound from this book, he said, we touched on zikr, remembrance of Allah earlier. This is an action, which is also part of the process we are describing. Remembrance of Allah isn't just about going to some Sufi gathering, dressing in a particular way, and eating a particular type of food, because that isn't going to cure you. That's not what this is about. When I say remembrance of Allah, I'm talking about what the Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him, actually said about the emotional turmoil and trauma we have been talking about. The Prophet ﷺ was an oasis near the desert. When he turned to his beloved cousin, the one that he loved deeply, and he said, Ya Ali, Sayyidina Ali, shall I teach you the supplication for falling into the quicksand? I mean someone who literally lost hope and giving up everything in life. Like you are sinking into the earth. Like you are saying, just swallow me. I'm giving up. And can you see what the Prophet ﷺ is doing? He's teaching us. And by the way, this is not simply about quicksand. And our master, Sayyidina Ali, said, of course, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you fall into quicksand, say, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahi aliyil azim. In the name of God, most gracious, most compassionate, and there is no might, no power, except with God, the exalted and the meaning. So I just let's say, now with this about what is quicksand. Quicksand is when the ground that you are standing on pulls you down. And the more you move, the quicker it pulls you down. What did we say trauma was? What did we say emotional turmoil is? Emotional turmoil is quicksand. Spiritual crisis is quicksand. Quicksand is a metaphor for many of the difficult states that hold us back. Right? So sometimes I realize that when I learn from someone like Sheikh Abdul Aziz, a scholar, and that zikr itself is actually from Habib Mashur al-Haddad, or even Habib Abdullah al-Haddad. In one of his books, I forget what book is this recently, but I remember it says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi azim, where you are in a state of losing hope. And so here Sheikh Abdul Aziz was saying that sometimes that anxiety or whatever that you feel, the turmoil in you is actually your hal, your state. And that hal could actually channel into positivity if you know that that hal is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because without doubt, you will not be able to understand what is certainty. That certainty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are His slave. So He gave us from one moment to another moment. From anxiety to relief. From pain to feel that pain itself leads me to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm not saying here is that people can just tell people this kind of thing openly. Because different people, my experience, have different ways of going through life. So not everyone is the same. That's the unique part of Sufism. Right? So even Sheikh Abdul Aziz was saying that at one point, even Imam Ghazali went through that crisis. And because of his anxiety, he went for Khalwa at that 40 days. And because of that Khalwa for 40 days, we had Ihya al-Ulumuddin. So, not necessarily whatever states that we go through are actually negative. It's positive. But it's just that we need to understand that where does it lead us from. Because most of the time when we have that anxiety, we are actually worrying that we are not able to control our life. It's easy to say, let go and let God. But the reality of let go and let God is not to worry about tomorrow, whether you have enough resting, whether tomorrow you're going to marry this guy or that girl, or tomorrow whether you have something for yourself or your family. But again, having that worry actually make you focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that's why I said yesterday in one of my in the event I had yesterday, I was saying that people should not focus on the outcome. They should focus on the process itself, because Allah is with you. And if you are willing to go through that process, and that's how you understand how to trust Allah in every moment or in every grief. Right? And I also like to share one story talking about anxiety. It was one of my friends. He lost his wife, and after that he lost his child, because both were battling with cancer. And 7 years he had to cope with both of their sickness. And cancer is not something that is very easy to deal with. The chemotherapy part, and then the process of, after that chemo. So what you think? You have to work, and then your child is sick, and then your wife is sick, and then you're gonna lose both. And he attended Sri Kuala, I remember in 2014. And Allah talked to Sheikh Abdul Aziz Felix. And when he talked to Sheikh Abdul Aziz, and I heard Sheikh Abdul Aziz said that, you wake up in the middle of the night, you do two rakaat, and you surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing you can do anything about it. But it is how you have good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's very difficult. And I try to be there for him, and I try to talk to him. and it's not easy because the one who experienced and the one who is not experienced is totally different, right? But I learned a lot from him. So when his wife and his child died, he just said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. All praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how he sat with me and he cried. Sheikh Abdul Aziz, Sheikh Abdul Aziz also went through a lot of things in his life. His wife was sick, critically ill. And all these are things that make us understand that to be on a spiritual path, the indication of your progress is not based on your ease. It's not based on your risky. It's not based on how good you are or how much knowledge you have. Also, is how you have good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when Allah tests us, He wants us to know that He is Allah. He is Allah and we are His slave. And we are here to know Him. Right? So that's how me and my wife, we learned from the sacred problem for 10 years. There's so much story, but my mind jumbling up the story. Yeah. So I think I end it here. It's lesser than 1 hour. If not, I will give Sharahat. So nice. See you. Just a few words before I end. I'd like to thank Aman, Muran, Sister Nina, and for giving us this opportunity. So 2 years ago we had this event. Aman was also helping all of them. And I'm blessed to know each one of them. And I'm blessed to meet all of you today. And I'm always looking forward to meet all of you each time I come to KL. And I told Aman before, it's not the event that I always look forward to, it's to meet him. Yeah. And I'm very touched today also. We have sisters from Singapore who are volunteers for many years. They are our backbone in ensuring that this event continues. And we hope Singapore will continue despite we always face different challenges every year. But we never imagined that we had reached 10 years, a decade. Never thought of that. But Alhamdulillah, Allah is very merciful. And without me knowing each one of you, I don't think this is possible. So I thank Allah for meeting all of you, knowing all of you, and making me always a better person each day, inshallah. That's why the reflection in this book, you can see that few of our volunteers beside my boss, my wife, she wrote this, about how the second part of love changed their life. Again, it's not about miracles. It's not about something that you come to the event and suddenly you heal. No. When you come to the event, you understand what you go through is from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that healing itself is not something that is wondrous, but the healing is always been about you knowing that Allah is always with you. And we are thankful because I met so many people, the former drug addicts, former vices, prostitutes, you name it. When they say that in the end they are shukr to Allah because they are still given the chance to sujood, that is enough. And for me, second problem, as I said, meeting Aman alone, alhamdulillah. I don't have to be a big cloud or huge cloud. No, it's all about loving, to understand what is love, and to realize that in you there is love that you share with people. Because for us, love is, what you said, like Hollywood or material. My Sheikh Ismail always said to me, love is something that you give from your heart to someone unconditionally. It means ikhlas. You give it. So you benefit from that. And the reason why I said that meeting Aman or Amran was bigger than all this event was because I shared when I visited him a few times in Medina Bay in Senegal. And he said to me, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when the man came to this town, and he said, the angel came, right, as a form of human, and he said, why are you here? He said, I want to meet so and so. And the angel said, what business you have with that person? And he said, nothing, just for the sake of Allah, Siratullah, brotherhood. And Allah said to the angel, tell him that I had forgiven him because of that. So I hope the Singapore problem is a caravan of hope and love for everyone, that we can share the blessing together. Inshallah, thank you very much.